Greetings, Force users and heroes alike. Welcome back to Inside the Tauntaun, a podcast in the multiverse of fandom. I'm Alyssa Simmons, and I'm joined today by my two pals, Dino Nicandros.
Hello.
And Daniel Dawson.
Hello there.
And today we are talking episode 4 of the Marvel Studios Disney Plus series, What If? This is What If Doctor Strange Lost His Heart instead of his hands. Written by A.C. Bradley, directed by Brian Andrews, and by God, we're Marvel fans.
I don't know who you are or where you came from.
I am Iron Man.
I thought they smelled bad. On the outside.
Smells like a new car in here.
Inside the Tauntaun, this is our opening song. Alyssa, Daniel, Dino, talking nerd stuff, come along. Inside the Tauntaun podcast, please like and subscribe.
If I only had a heart.
Aw. I wish that it were even remotely that hopeful of a message.
May I just say,
Yeah, I mean, I guess like if Wizard of Oz was like about demons and and witchcraft.
may I just say that, and this is not an exaggeration on my part,
Uh-oh, here he
that
goes.
was some of the best Marvel, period.
How many times have we said that? I think that we should have a drinking
It's
game.
true. It's true.
They've been really killing it, though. Like,
I
truthfully,
will
it's
say,
not like we're
like-
being stupid. Like, it was really fucking good.
I would say this stands so far above the others at this point.
Agreed.
Oh, of
And
this
the others
series,
are thrilling.
absolutely.
Yes.
The fact that, I mean, this is getting up to like Pixar level animation. The fact that you in a 2-3 minute period feel so much for these characters.
Oh.
Granted, we have more background with them.
Yeah,
But,
they are relying still fairly heavily on nostalgia.
But
and,
oh my gosh, that the sequence of him continually trying to save her over and over and over again, I was like, I cried.
I cried too. Yeah,
I was like, oh.
The very end is what got me officially. I was like,
my
And
gosh.
it has to be said that Benedict Cumberbatch, we knew he was a talented voice actor, but he stands so far above his counterparts in terms of his characterization through his voice. I mean,
Yeah.
it was stunning.
so good.
I mean, it was Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so uniquely
There-
him. It was just
That was the first time. I think that was the first character thus far, and the performances have been great. But this is the first character thus far that was like, I mean, that's Doctor Strange.
That's him. Sure.
well, and
There's no
also
difference.
too. I think what makes this stand out above the rest, and is just a great. It is a great testament to the storytelling because somehow they were able to fit like this lush, really amazing story into a 30-minute period, and it didn't feel rushed. It was just a perfect little chunk of little nugget of story, and it was action packed and emotion packed and all the above. I mean, it's just like you look at other shows. And, when we're like, well, that was fun. And they told like a couple of, we got a couple of cool little tidbits of the story, but this is like a fully fledged beginning, middle, and end story. It was
I mean, they could have if they wanted to. They didn't need to, but I would have watched a full animated feature of this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
been like
really fucking depressed.
well, maybe it would have had a slightly different ending, but maybe not.
Well,
Um,
and
Hard
we've
to
said this
say.
every week. We've said this every week, but I feel like they really downplayed just how consequential
All
these
this
episodes
is.
are going to be because
Yeah.
this one, and I know we said it last week, but this one, it's like, oh,
Uh-huh.
okay, now we have some foreboding explanations for how certain events may come about.
Uh-huh.
And you see
They're
Marvel-
dropping some clues for sure.
And they're being very clever about how they're kind of restructuring not only their understanding of time but ours, and they're doing it in real time. And call it a retcon if you want, call it whatever. But
I'll call it whatever I want. You can't
But
tell
the-
me what to call it.
but you could tell, like, Michael Waldron's had some input, Feige, of course, and they're all
They didn't
shaping.
call me.
Thank God. Be all about butts.
Daniel,
And
please
feces.
explain the multiverse. Poop, poop, fart, fart, butts.
Have you ever farted so big
That it
that it
cracked a
split
hole
the universe in?
in the space-time continuum.
That's what breaks the multiverse.
What if? Just
It
like-
wasn't Wanda. It was methane gas.
Oh my god.
If I directed the show, damn it,
Yeah.
missed
But
opportunities.
you can see that they're morphing the explanation for how time works to kind of fit the story they're telling, and I buy it. Like I'm with them as long as the parameters make sense.
I did
Sure.
buy
I'm fully there.
I bought the
and
subscription
luckily
to
for
Disney Plus.
them-
I bought it.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, luckily for them, they have so much incredible source material with the comics.
Yeah.
That the comics have been doing multiverse stuff since the 50s.
Sure,
Different versions of the characters
Right.
coming through portals.
They're already
branched
well-versed.
timelines. I'm reading and watching the Flash series on the CW right now, and not to get too much into it, but like their explanation on how different universes and dimensions work, and how there's like essentially like a Flash on every or a doppelganger of the characters in all of these different Earths or whatever is so
Sure.
it's actually extremely helpful for where things are going with Marvel. It's a little bit
Mhm.
more digestible to me than the Loki brain
way it all
the Loki brain break, as I'm referring
Brain
to
break,
it.
sure.
Where it's just like, okay, I've got to wrap my head around what all of this is
Yeah.
and means.
I mean, I think that yeah, it's just it's the concept is greater than all of us. I think that's kind of the point too. It's probably better that way too, that we don't completely understand it, because otherwise
Sure.
we'd be poking holes in the
Yeah, and it's I mean it's supposed to be mysterious. It's supposed to keep us on our toes.
Right.
So I think that that's also important to keep reminding ourselves that it's not
Mhm.
Totally.
it's not it's not like phase 1 of Marvel, where it's going to be like kind of your more typical like bad guy good guy situation. Like
Yeah.
it's
Now the good guys are.
Well, and
Oh
you
my
said it. I mean,
God.
that's why it's going to be. I always go back to what we were telling ourselves after Endgame. It's like this kind of feels like an ending. It will never be like this again. They might tell more independent stories, but there's no way the stakes get bigger. And within 6 months of this year, the stakes are gigantic.
yeah. For reals.
They're like a sensible 32-ounce quarter, like really big steak.
Yes. So one of the cool things about this episode is that we got pretty much the bulk of the original cast from the Doctor Strange film
Yep.
in here, which is dope. We already talked about, we had Benedict Cumberbatch, and we had Rachel McAdams as Christine Palmer,
Hmm.
Benedict Wong as Wong, Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One, and they even brought back our friend Leslie Bibb from Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 2. She's the reporter that
Christine Everhart.
sleeps with Tony, I think, in the first movie.
Oh, huh?
Mhm.
Yes, Christine Everhart, and she just had a couple of lines in the background of the scenes as a reporter on the news. The new character that we have and a new voice actor, we had Obang, played by Ike Amadi, and in the comics, he is actually Cagliostro. So he's the dude who wrote all these books and created this library where Strange travels to in this episode.
Well, it's interesting. So, I mean, was he?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they decided that, or if he was just like
They just left it up to the mystery.
the librarian of the Cagliostro.
Madam Librarian.
So, yeah, let's talk about the plot. Instead of traveling to his speaking conference alone and having his hands horribly injured in the car crash, Christine Palmer is with him, and she is killed in the crash, which that is the event that pushes Strange into learning the mystic arts. So, up until, that point in the story, other than the fact that she was the one that passed away, the story is pretty similar. He goes and learns the mystic arts and defeats Dormammu and, becomes the Sorcerer
I've come
Supreme.
to bargain.
Yes. We got that little scene in animated form, which was cool. And he's set up in
I want it for $1 less.
He's like, oh, no.
I
This
paid
gets
$2.30 and I should have paid $1.30.
He's always bargaining with that Dormammu, the deli leader.
You can't beat these prices. At
Dormammu.
Dormammu's bargain bin.
To Dormammu's TJ Maxx.
Dormammu, I'm on a budget.
Oh, wow. This is such a dumb joke, but I love it. So he uses the time stone to travel back to the night Christine died, and he is trying to change that event. But no matter what he does or how many times he repeats that night, Christine dies in the most...
Woof. This is a cautionary tale to
awful
never
ways.
drive with Dr. Strange
Oh
because
my
he's
gosh,
a terrible
seriously.
driver.
Well, even when she drove, it
Right.
happened.
Maybe
Yeah.
just, you know what? They didn't try getting a different car. That was the one thing.
Well,
they didn't try.
and they were both better off when she didn't enjoy going to these dinners with him.
Yeah.
I guess so.
God's sake.
She just can't. She can't give up on the creme brulee. She needs the creme
Just
brulee.
had to have it.
This is her fault.
So.
It's always the woman's fault. Always the woman's
That's what I've always said.
And her damn desserts.
Damn it. They're women and their damn desserts. Oh, shit.
It's just burned
so-
sugar. For God's
Right.
sake.
But
It
delicious.
is, but
oh
it is
my God.
freaking
I know,
delicious.
I know.
It is
All
one of
right.
my favorite desserts of all time.
So in this stage in the timeline, the Ancient One is still alive, and she comes to Strange and tells him that Christine's death is an absolute point in time. Well, and she describes it as a defining moment that drives events going forward. And if he erases that event, he risks wiping out the entire universe.
This is new terminology
So can
alert.
we need to talk about this absolute point in time.
Let's talk about it.
I was racking my brain. Now that they've introduced this, are there others in the MCU that already exist?
Yeah,
And
totally. I mean, assumedly.
I think there's going to be one going forward, and that is for what, and I don't know the reason behind it yet, but Peter Parker being revealed as Spider-Man. And I think that might be the
interesting.
crux of the entire Spider-Man movie, was that
Which is-
no matter how many times you try to change the fact that people know, you can't.
You can't because it's an absolute point. That would make a lot of sense.
That's interesting.
And
Very interesting.
I mean, it completely nukes everything. I mean, like, look what happens in this episode. I mean,
Yeah,
it doesn't end well.
It destroys the fabric of reality. So, ugh. Anyways, so he cannot accept that information at all, and
Also, I was just gonna say, like, I know it's like slightly controversial because of the casting choice of Tilda Swinton, but I really do love her in like just like her comforting, soft
Yes.
voice. It's
oh
just
yeah,
like
no, she's an incredible actor.
she's such a great actress.
and extremely diverse, but
Yeah. But
I
but
mean,
not diverse enough for this
ethnically-
role.
not ethnically diverse.
You're right.
Diverse as an actor.
Yeah.
But yeah, she is great, even though it was a problematic casting choice. to
Although
begin with.
it. No, I won't defend it because it is a problematic casting choice. But I will say, I guess I am kind of defending it. But I will say that she has such, as you just said, Alyssa, she has such a uniqueness about her that the role doesn't fall into the trap of being like the trope of the the Asian teacher, like the martial
Right,
arts,
yeah.
you know, like that they pigeonhole Asian actors into all the time. And it doesn't make it better
sure.
that this role probably should have gone to an Asian person.
To an Asian person.
But on the
yeah.
other hand, it's like, well, she was able to do something with it that wouldn't be offensive in another way. You know, that it's
Maybe.
like,
Yeah, she's kind of an alien. Like she is very
She is an alien.
otherworldly. Like, yeah, but
and
She's
if I
diverse in
recall,
the sense that she came from another planet.
well, and I
Yes.
recall that in Doctor Strange, Mordo talks about her background a little bit. He said not much is known about her, but she's Celtic and she's been alive for thousands
Right.
of years. So they do
Right.
establish that she's not masquerading as an Asian person. So
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
It's
Which
not
is
great,
for the best.
but
That's good.
she's wonderful.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
correct. So Strange jumps in time to find the lost library of Cagliostro, and you might recognize that name because in the Doctor Strange movie, it's revealed that the Ancient One used dark magic from the Book of Cagliostro to prolong her own life. So, in Strange's
It's
quest
forbidden.
to resurrect Christine, he gets incredible power by absorbing other mystical beings.
In the most terrifying possible way.
Yeah.
Super duper scary. It really mirrored what Mordo did in the post-credit scene
Mm-hmm.
of Doctor Strange, which is also a plot line that's unresolved. So that's something to be noted. And it takes him centuries to do it, to absorb all of these different mystical beings.
He's just sucking up all these demons.
Yeah, super scary. Some of them were cuter than others.
Well, and,
Yeah.
and did we see that the final one, well, the one he attempted the first time and then decided it was too big, Shumagorath?
there's our friend Shumagorath from the
I mean, if that is
Captain
truly what
Carter.
it is, it definitely looks a whole lot like it, yeah.
It really did. So, this is where things start to get even more cray-cray. So, the Ancient One appears to an alternate version of Strange, who decided against meddling with time. And she explains to him that she drew upon the power of the dark dimension to split the timeline, to split you. She tells the uncorrupted Strange, allowing for 2 of your possible timelines to occur in one universe.
Yeah, so we're
Ooh.
changing the rules again. So they're taking some artistic license here, which it works for the story and it was so beautiful. But as for the MCU as a whole, it makes things so confusing.
Well, confusing, but also not, because it's kind of explaining how Spider-Man is going to work.
Sure.
Maybe.
I mean, because
and-
yeah, keep going.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is like similar or anything like it, but in the Flash, the way that they describe it is like a straight, like linear line, right?
Yes.
And there's like a point in time here,
Mhm.
and when you travel back in time or when you mess with time in the slightest, another reality is branched.
Yes.
Right.
And it's the same person, and it's sometimes the same people and instances in their lives, but another thing is branched. And if someone tries to go back to that same point in time again, then another line is branched
Mhm.
Right. Sure.
from that same point.
Sure.
So, yeah, this is trippy. We're getting into
Trippy-tastics.
real trippy
You know, going back,
territory.
I just because I find myself dwelling on this point, the absolute points.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if Tony Stark's death is one of those.
Maybe.
Could be.
I don't
Yeah.
know. It's not relevant to what we're talking about right now, but I was just
Well,
thinking.
that's
I was
okay.
like, Tony. Like, no
Yeah.
matter, it always ended with him having to die.
Sacrifice. Yeah.
I
I'm-
like the idea that it was like sort of his destiny to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. That would be really cool. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
So then we
Oh,
get.
Also, just like the presence of what I'm assuming are demons. Question mark. I mean, they looked a whole lot like demons, right? The things that he was absorbing.
I mean, all sorts of different.
There were all sorts of mystical beings.
Mystical beings, yeah. But I mean,
Yeah.
like, I like, are we going into Mephisto territory? Like, I know that he didn't like absorb Mephisto per se, but like,
Oh, Mephisto's
Um,
coming. Like,
yeah, I
the
just think
jokes
these
aside,
are little
he's- yeah.
more subtle hints that like, yeah, he's on the way.
Yeah, and we're in dark dimension territory here,
Yeah.
which we haven't.
a nightmare and
Yeah, we haven't experienced in MCU thus far.
Mm-hmm.
So then we get the Good Strange versus Strange Supreme battle, which was
Cool.
scary and dope as hell.
dope as hell.
And Good Strange is trying to, convince him. He's like, this line like really struck me. He said, this isn't love. Look at this. This is arrogance. This is our need to fix everything. And they battle, but unfortunately, Good Strange is defeated. And now the whole corrupted Strange brings Christine back. And he's terrifying looking, and she's scared of him.
Just
it's so
disturbing.
sad.
So disturbing.
And their reunion is very, very brief because the fact that he was able to undo this absolute point destroys his reality. And it leaves Strange Supreme the only survivor. And it looks like he's trapped in like a
prism.
like
Prism of reality.
A prism little gem situation.
Little pocket universe.
Mm-hmm.
Just
And
by himself.
now we have the very first time where any of our characters have referenced the Watcher.
Interacted.
Oh, right,
yeah.
yes.
Because his power has apparently given him, sufficient awareness to know that he's there and communicate with him in this very last moment.
Yep.
And the Watcher refuses to interfere because it would put the rest of the multiverse at risk. And the episode leaves us on the last line: one life, one choice, one moment can destroy the entire universe.
Whew.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's just, does that make you, I mean, like, for a person with anxiety about making choices in life, like, this is not the
great.
episode you want to watch.
Yeah. I mean, actions and consequences, and
Yeah.
it most of the time ends up just fine for our heroes. And
Yeah.
when you have the kind of power Doctor Strange does, it's very easy to see how it could go wrong. And I'm so glad, as harrowing as this episode is, I'm so glad they showed us that, because it now puts it into perspective. When we see Doctor Strange going forward, we know how
what he
bad it
could do.
get.
What
Yeah.
he's capable of. He's capable of destroying the universe as we know it. Yikes.
Yeah, there was also another
Yeah.
line that stuck out to me that Obang says to Strange, and he says there's a fine line between devotion and delusion.
Mm-hmm.
Love can break more than your heart; it can shatter your mind.
Yeah.
So
this is it's
another-
a cautionary
another,
tale in like
another
so many
moment
ways.
where Marvel is really, diving into mental health
Sure.
and not being able to tell the difference between devotion and delusion.
Yeah. It's but yeah, I was saying it's like sort of a cautionary tale. I think that like oftentimes we get blinded by our passions or whatever they are, and you ignore all the signals that the universe is trying to give you, like, hey, what you're doing, like, here, try this instead. This is what, you know what I mean? And
yeah, I mean, he had the Ancient One who he, as Strange, trusted and, knew very well, say to him, like, you cannot do this.
right.
You cannot do this. And the Watcher even says, like,
You were warned.
I could have interfered. I couldn't interfere, but even if I did, he wouldn't have listened.
Right. Yeah. Which is the first time he heard him too. And he's like, huh?
Yeah. So.
Interesting
Yeah.
note.
And so, I'm sorry. Going back to that actually, and the Watcher being heard and sort of being all of a sudden thrust into the story.
Mm-hmm.
It almost seems like he's been progressively becoming more and more like, because the first episode we didn't really see him much, and then the second episode we did we see? I'm trying to remember seeing his silhouette, but then in the third episode we saw
He
his
was there a
silhouette
lot.
numerous times. Yeah, like looming in the background.
Mhm.
Very cool.
That is a good point, though, Daniel. Like, the Watcher has been, more and more visible in each episode.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm kind of curious going forward if we're gonna get more of him, like as a playable character as opposed to a non-playable character.
Sure. And are there going to be instances where he is really truly tempted to interfere?
Yeah.
And
uh-huh.
what will that look like? Because
Like, is that what we're leading towards? Because it
Yeah.
does feel like he said that numerous times, and yeah, whether or not maybe the finale shows him finally intervening in some way, that'd be very interesting.
And if we're projecting way into the future, you think about the characters, number one, that would be most likely to interact with him, and Doctor Strange is at the top of the list because of
Totally.
Oh, yeah.
because of his powers, and then you put Wanda in that category as well.
Mm-hmm.
But if somebody is going to warn them about Kang or whatever the hell is going, I wonder if he'll be tempted to nudge them in the right direction, as he does in the comics. They're not. He doesn't give blatant explanations, or he doesn't affect how things are dealt with, but he does from time to time nudge them in the right direction. So yeah, that's an interesting point.
Another thing that I was thinking about quite a bit was this run of comics, The New Avengers. I want to say it was from 2014 or 2015. It's like a 5 or 6 run comic, but it's Doctor Strange is kind of giving up his title of Sorcerer Supreme, and it is trippy. I mean, we talked about this during WandaVision. Like, what does this mean? Is are we going to get to see on the big screen potentially another Sorcerer Supreme that's not Stephen Strange?
Mm-hmm.
And I think, especially now that we just got this episode, I think that chances are pretty good that it might be in 10 years, but I think chances are pretty good that we are going to see another Sorcerer Supreme in this phase.
In our lifetime. Well, question. Do we feel like this was a cute little tied up in a bow story and we'll never see it again? Or do we feel like, this is kind of a two-part question. Do we feel like this story has a continuation of some sort? It doesn't seem like, I don't know how they could, but Doctor Strange is one of the craziest, mediums that they have in the MCU. So, I mean,
Sure.
I could really, anything could happen, but I'm just curious what you guys think.
I was thinking about, we were discussing why is Doctor Strange so odd in that Spider-Man trailer.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the prevailing theories is
I'm
Mephisto.
glad this is part of the second part of my question. So good. Yes. Keep going.
But so one of the prevailing theories is Mephisto because of the snowy imagery, and we could get into Dante's Inferno and all of that stuff, and that's all noted. I think it's a bit on the nose to be Mephisto at this point. But is there a possibility? And I don't even have a guess at this point. But is there a possibility that bad Doctor Strange or deranged Doctor Strange escapes that reality, and here he's figured out a way into this reality, and just undone by his failure with Christine, is he going to try and fix another immovable point, an absolute point, and that's why he takes on Peter's
Oh yeah, sure, I'll help you with your problem.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
that might be a little far-fetched, but
no, I think even if that's not him in the trailer, I have a.
It would make for a really cool comic either way.
Oh yeah, for sure. I've got a gut feeling that we have not seen the last of Strange Supreme.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Spooky Strange Supreme.
That's the spooky guy. The spooky one is the Strange Supreme guy.
Yeah.
That's my gut feeling. I don't know.
In What If, or just in the MCU in general?
in the MCU in general.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, and I don't know if you guys said this when I got cut off, but Obang in the comics, that is Cagliostro.
Yes.
Right. Yes, we did talk
Okay,
about
good.
this. Yes.
So that chalk that up as a character we could see again.
Yeah, sure. Well, and that's the other thing too. I was trying. I think that you missed this, but my question was whether or not, because in this what if episode, like he kind of alludes to that he's not Cagliostro, but he doesn't really say that he's.
He doesn't say like yay or nay.
No,
Yeah,
he says he's the bookkeeper, which during the episode I was like, oh, that's Cagliostro. It's like,
yeah,
absolutely it is.
right.
This is like Yoda. Oh, you seek Yoda, and he's talking about himself.
right. But it's interesting that he doesn't ever like really definitively say, which is
No,
so
he
I
doesn't.
mean,
he doesn't, and that is relevant. But also, you think about how Strange is taking centuries to absorb all of these creatures, and then when he gets to the end, Obe is just now dying. It's like, okay, this guy isn't just a friggin' librarian. This is probably Cagliostro.
We're gonna.
it would be
him.
really neat, and I like if I were a writer, I guess, it would be more interesting to leave that a mystery until the Multiverse of Madness, and he's actually revealed to be actually, like that would be neat.
And that's probably I would say there's a better than not chance that happens.
Yeah.
I think we'll see him again.
Didn't this kind of feel like if somebody were to have called this episode the Multiverse of Madness? I mean, it kind of fits.
Well, I'm now frightened for that movie.
Yeah,
Spider-Man will be weird,
if
but
this
that
is any
movie
indication,
will be weird.
Woo!
Yeah, because technically, we didn't even go to like another multiverse. This was all on the same timeline.
Right.
That,
and that's
So
the thing.
if it was that
Usually
crazy, all on the same timeline, even though there were two different Stranges, but if it was that crazy all on one timeline, yikes.
Yikes. So now, just kind of going back to that usually when you go back in time and you make a new choice, then it splits off into a different timeline. But that timeline is basically a new universe, right? Like, at least in the old rules.
Well, the old rules haven't changed. They've just been kind of expounded on, I guess.
Expanded.
Or our understanding of how they can be altered. But I think...
Right.
So if it splits into a different timeline, that is a different universe.
A different universe entirely.
Yes.
So now we're dealing with a universe where a person can literally be split in twine, and I wonder if that could be done with anyone, or if Strange is special in that way because he's so powerful that he can be split
I think
into...
Strange and Wanda at this point are the only two who are probably capable of doing that, and I think that very fact will bear itself out in a couple of these upcoming movies. That, like I said before, I think it would be a really easy explanation for, say, introducing a couple Spider-Mans or a couple Doctor Stranges in the same movie. Now that we've seen that it can be done, it's an interesting thing to think about, and especially as far as Wanda's concerned. And when last we left her, not to jump all over the place, but when last we left her, she's reading the Darkhold. Right. And when she figures out that that's something she can do. Yeah, and making a cup of tea, right. But once she figures out that's something that's possible, I mean, yikes. Because she's Wanda's very much in the headspace that Strange is in throughout this whole episode, and there were some very clear parallels to WandaVision.
Yep.
But I wonder if that's going to be. We've always speculated that Wanda would have some hand in kind of cracking everything open, and oh boy, I mean, she's got a lot of heartbreak on her heart. So
she does, and on that last credit scene that you were just talking about, she can hear her kids screaming. Still,
and her kids don't exist. So now, but now they do in some.
But
universe.
now they do because she made them.
Right.
So, yeah, we're getting we're getting
I
into
mean-
like, woo, crazy stuff.
Well, and speaking of like the WandaVision parallels, when Christine is dissolving at the end, I mean that was Vision disappearing. It was
very similar.
very
just like
similar.
a slightly different style.
Right.
Which also, like, my imagination is running wild with that. Like, just how the, you know, their depiction, the artist's depiction of, like, what would happen if the universe were to just sort of implode on itself. Like, and how it was sort of, like, drippy. Like,
Yeah.
how everything sort of, like was
It
sort
was
of...
like the opposite. Like it was like if a candle were like gravity wasn't working with like a candle.
Yeah, and everything was, like,
Like it was
melting wax.
Yeah, it was like melting upwards.
Such a weird way to envision it. And I mean I assume, well, I don't know. I have nothing to assume, because I mean I don't know science and I don't know shit, but yeah, it's like their energy is like sort of being sucked into the void or something. I don't know. Very, very weird.
Well, and the last image, literally being trapped in a prism of his own making, surrounded by blackness. Like, there's that's just the most lonely, awful
and
thing.
I mean, like, and I guess, should we assume that this Doctor Strange is now sort of like immortal in a sense, or is he like because he's absorbed the powers of all these like demonic
he's gonna live
creatures?
a long time by himself. I mean, that's yeah.
I'm sure he's gonna. I mean, I don't know. Like, does he kill himself? Does he like? Yeah, I don't know.
Does he kill himself?
I'm sure
Does he get out?
He's too arrogant, so I'm sure he's just gonna sit there for a long time trying to figure out how to fix it.
Yeah.
He's like, I can fix this. I can fix this.
I was also thinking about since we're in the WandaVision mode, when Bad Strange absorbs Steven, you'll notice we've talked about the different colors of magic in Marvel, and he starts wielding the red colored magic. This one could assume he is now dabbling in chaos magic there at the end.
Sure.
Oh, for sure.
And that's what leads me to believe like Wanda's going to be able to do something like this, because he uses chaos magic to try and destroy this absolute point, and he does, and then ruins everything else. So some foreboding in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just the whole like beams of light coming out of the eyes and mouth thing, like so
it's
spooky.
Very, very dark.
Yeah. I hated it, but I loved it. It was so, like, I mean, really, some of the coolest imagery. It was really, really neat. It definitely stuck with me.
Yeah, and it's a great point about the imagery, because I was thinking about like when he's going to the library. I don't know why it reminded me of Indiana Jones a little bit, and
sure,
you have like the ruined booby traps on the floor,
yep.
and he's in the jungle. I don't know. They really captured a whole lot of different feelings.
Different themes. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was like it was a romance, and then all of a sudden it was like an adventure, and then it was this weird demonic
film.
horror.
Macabre. Yeah. It's just,
very, very cool. And they squeezed that all into 30 minutes. That was the thing that kept blowing me away. I was like, that is
very, very impressive that they were able to get that much story in, and that it was like easily understandable, you know.
Yeah.
There weren't parts that we were like, "Oh, what okay, he just mentioned that happened, but we didn't get to see it," you know, like yeah. It just was this is what the show is. Like, you know what I mean? It's like taking these stories and just like completely flipping them on the other side
in a meaningful way. It's not just an exercise.
Yeah, it's
and
not
like,
just like,
oh, this would be
let's
cool.
see what happened.
You know?
Wasn't that fun?
I mean,
yeah. What if Tony Stark had ducks for feet?
I mean, why not?
Yeah, no, it's
and every
it's
time he walks, it goes
absolutely,
quack, 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 quack.
That would be annoying,
and then everything is exactly the same. Like, so
Everything-
that's the only thing different in that universe.
Just, but like, you know, people would obviously like recognize it and like, you know, think it was annoying.
And
but
I
they would.
am Quack Iron Man.
Yeah. Mhm.
Oh boy.
Definitely.
Yeah, it just yeah, like you said, Dino, it's in very, very meaningful ways because we know how arrogant Strange is. We've seen that,
Mhm.
and this was like the complete opposite side of the coin of what really could have happened if he would have let his arrogance on being able to control, that absolute point.
Well, and that's
We-
why I
we
was.
watched it.
That's why last week I was harping so much on like he could totally be going back to Spider-Man. Like he could totally be possessed by Mephisto or Nightmare or somebody. Number two, it could be an alternate Strange. This episode has shown us that.
Mhm.
But three, like this episode, like before he becomes completely deranged. I mean, he is arrogant. Like he
Right.
is still a young sorcerer supreme. He doesn't. Although, granted, like this episode starts before he's dabbled in all of that, but he's an arrogant man who as a doctor, pushed the boundaries of science and successfully
and
most
he was
of the
proven
time.
right in a lot of instances.
Right.
So that like it just kind of like pushed his arrogance further because he's just like, well, I was right though, wasn't I? You know.
Yep.
I took the risk, but I mean, it ended up being good though. So you're welcome.
Because I'm trying to reason through, and this might just be a fruitless exercise in the end, but
I love fruit.
I know you do. I'm just trying to rationalize. So say Mephisto has, and this is not a joke. Say Mephisto has somehow.
But it's already funny.
Yeah, right. He has somehow co-opted Doctor Strange, and is going to do this for Peter. He's going to erase everybody's memory of Peter. To what end? Because like, does Mephisto just want to
Fuck things up.
yeah,
Yeah.
just
What is
blow it
what?
up?
Well,
I guess.
well,
Do we
if
know
you
what
were,
Mephisto's like? What his like motivations are?
I mean, he's
is it
Satan,
just to make
so-
chaos?
I mean, he's like literally the devil. So
Yeah. Is it?
Well,
Is
if
it
it
just to
is,
absorb souls then?
I don't know. I've not read any comics with him in it, so I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to figure out too whether or not he's like the sort of your average devil, where like I make a deal with you, and then at the end of it I get to have your soul, kind of thing.
yeah, it could be. It could
Or-
very well be as
or-
simple as that. But
Or it could be, like you said, Dino, if Peter Parker becoming Spider-Man is an absolute point,
Right.
and he knows that if he finds a way to undo that, he will unravel life.
Space time.
and does he get something from a universe collapsing in on itself? Does that
Yeah,
feed
yeah.
him in some way? Maybe.
Could be.
Could be.
That does seem a lot
Sounds like, it sounds like something Satan would do.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
totally. It makes more sense now that this episode in particular has introduced us to so many of these themes. I do think I still maintain, and I could be very, very wrong. I still maintain Spider-Man. That's a little much to tackle in that movie with the introduction
it's
of
already so much,
like
even
with the
just what we've
Sinister
seen in the
Six,
trailer.
and like then you're gonna have
Yeah,
Mephisto
yeah.
there at the end, and like, well,
yeah.
It's probably not going to be all
they're
those
sprinkling.
things,
They're
but it's-
sprinkling this.
Yeah, it's not going to be all those things, but it is fun to see groundwork being laid
Mhm.
for what is to come. you
Yeah,
know?
and really, I mean, it like somehow just this one episode gave me so much context for both the Spider-Man movie and Multiverse of Madness. Like
Yes.
I feel like I'm like ready and raring to go. Like yeah, there were some questions that I had, like, and even to how we talked about when we talked about the trailer for Spider-Man, we were like, how does Doctor Strange make that choice? Like, it seems so arrogant, but I mean, this proves again that Doctor Strange is absolutely capable of doing something that fucking stupid. So,
Well, it honestly just leaves us with more questions because we like
Sure.
as you said, Daniel, we talked about all of these potential outcomes last week, but it has validated each one of our theories, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
There is a pathway.
And then added more, right.
Right. What this episode also did for me, it just reminded me what a kick-ass movie Doctor Strange was, and it honestly, it gets forgotten because it was.
Yeah, it really does.
It was sandwiched
so
between
unique.
and it was sandwiched between some
Not like
big
anything else in the MCU.
Right. It was sandwiched between some big event movies, and some people felt like it didn't. The arc in it isn't super satisfying, or whatever. I think that movie is absolute nails, and
I loved it.
I'm glad Doctor Strange is coming to the forefront here, because as I've experienced pretty much for the first time, as I've experienced Doctor Strange in the comics, and specifically what he's doing in Hickman's Avengers, and his arrogance is on full display, and he's still a good guy, and he's still a hero, but
Complicated.
I mean, really he needs to check his morality a little bit, because it gets dicey, and
These characters are always better when they have
Yeah.
like very distinct flaws, So it is good to see and relatable flaws too,
yeah.
Because I'm sure a lot of people out there would are like that. I know I can fix it. Just
Yeah.
let me-
Oh,
give me a
yeah.
chance."
Oh, this speaks. You don't have to be a superhero for this episode in particular to have spoken to you on a very visceral level.
Oof.
On
Yeah.
that moment, we all do it. I can think of one right now where you just grind on it, and you'll be sitting there like going about your day, and then something from 5 years ago will just bother you, and you're like,
Right.
I want to fix that. I want to.
I mean, I've lost count of how many souls I've absorbed. Seriously,
I believe it.
it's very. That was so relatable for me.
That part in particular was exactly what I do after I brush my teeth.
Just feed on some souls.
He's gonna have this little gnome soul first, and we're gonna go to this. Oh yeah. Also, sorry. Now that we're going back to that, so we have a reoccurring character, which is this octopus squid.
Shumagorath.
Demon monster who we're now calling the what?
Shumagorath.
It's
The Shumagorath, yes. Not confirmed, but very plausibly. But yeah, reoccurring character. So I guess keep looking out for. It sounds like we're probably gonna see that character again.
In live act, the giant one-eyed tentacled monster will be in Doctor Strange for sure. I think.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like they're setting that up.
It's a very
Also,
traditional Doctor Strange villain.
This may be a spoiler, but from what I understand from like the artwork of the show, I think that they do show Doctor Strange with Captain Carter at some point.
I thought so. Well, there was some promotional material, like one of those Audi commercials, I think, and those should not be taken seriously.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But I did find it interesting that it was Black Panther Star-Lord, or T'Challa Star-Lord rather, Doctor Strange, Captain Carter. Maybe.
Yeah, and like if that's the case, then perhaps we'll see. I mean, in a continuation of What If, we'll see them fighting off this big octopusy.
Yes.
Perhaps.
Quite possibly.
Mayhaps.
I am left with the line that Tony gives us in Endgame, where he says, "When you mess with time, it tends to mess back." And
Oh yeah.
he was specifically talking about what they were doing, and that time messing back was Thanos coming through time. But I had no idea that it would that line is probably the explanation for everything going forward. That you mess with anything, and there's going to be an equal and opposite reaction. And woof.
And this is all Star-Lord's fault.
Yeah, I mean, you could make
much.
you could make the case that that this is entirely Star-Lord's fault, Peter Quill,
Poor guy.
because he couldn't keep a lid on it for 5 seconds.
Damn it,
No.
Star-Lord.
He
God.
really couldn't.
What a dummy.
Oh my gosh.
Um,
Well, any
yeah.
other thoughts before we
Well,
wrap her up?
I'm thrilled and excited for the last 4 episodes, right? 4 or 5? 5 more episodes.
Oh, thank God. Yeah. We have 5
Yeah,
more.
5 more.
Thank goodness.
So excited. I am 1 comic away from finishing my Eternals arc. Oh my gosh, it's
Nice.
great. Yeah.
Great.
And if it's kind of giving, I don't know. It may not be the actual plot of the film, because I doubt that they would do that, but
Well, it can't be because that movie has been wrapped for a while and these comics are new.
yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it could. Maybe in certain ways, but it's it's definitely giving me hints because like a lot of the aspects of it are lining up, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. At least with the trailers that we've seen, or trailer that we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm so excited about the movie now. Just knowing what it's like, at least what the Eternals are all about. But
For
yeah,
sure.
the comic was a whirlwind.
Oh,
Really
Cool.
short too. It was only like I think like 7 comics.
Oh, really?
long.
It's not continuing on?
I think it will, but like this particular arc, yeah.
Oh, okay. That's just this story. I was like,
Yeah.
is on comics, and if it says like a limited story, it'll say like 1 of 7. Or
Yeah,
2
it
of
does
7.
say that.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, and the one that I'm reading right now says finale.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was like an open-ended one for some
Also
reason.
same, but apparently not.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like a little pocket thing.
Shang-Chi
Yep,
comes
and,
out tonight.
Shang-Chi.
Oh, I'm
Dino's
so
seeing
excited.
It tonight. Daniel and I are seeing it tomorrow. I'm so excited.
Yeah, and then
Mm.
she's at least as of the other night, it was sitting very comfortably at a 91%. Let me see if it's changed. It went up. It's 92% now.
Oh
Bam,
my
bam, bam.
gosh.
Huzzah.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
they're killing the game.
If there's a movie, if you're all listening to this and you're like, is there anything that would set up Shang-Chi to make a little more sense or that provides a little context, might I recommend you watch Iron Man 3 before you go see it?
Sure.
Yes. I love that recommendation.
As
Yeah.
a setup for the Mandarin and
Mhm,
the
mhm,
Ten
mhm.
Rings organization. And
Well, isn't there a little short?
there is
too,
a one-off, yes. All
Because
Hail the
I
King.
actually haven't seen that, and I want to watch that now.
I believe it was attached to Thor: The Dark World. It could
Oh,
be
is
on.
that right?
It could be on YouTube, but
I think it is. I want to say it is.
But there's a one-off with Ben Kingsley's character from Iron Man 3.
Great.
I can't
It's
remember.
It's
what
a fun
called.
little.
But it's basically him getting like bumped off, more or less, right?
Yeah, it gives you the explanation that there's a real Mandarin and he's real pissed at the games you guys have been playing.
Not pleased.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Alyssa, do we want to keep this under wraps for now, or do you want to give the people a little flavor of what your idea was?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we're gonna have a new segment. It'll be like its own little tiny episode, but we really want to engage more with the people who are listening right now, all of you wonderful peeps. So we're gonna have a new segment, and we're calling it Tauntaun Tales.
Tauntauns!
And we would love for you to write into us. You can shoot us an email, send us a DM on Instagram or Twitter. Our email is insidethetauntaunpodcast@gmail.com. And all of the other things are at Inside the Tauntaun.
We'll definitely post this at some point.
Yeah, we'll post it. But we want you guys to write in and just tell us about defining moments where you know, it could be like a special memory involving, any type of fandom. It can be, the moment that you discovered that you were a super nerd. It can just be anything at all. We just want to hear from you, and then we're gonna read them out on the pod. So that's gonna be our new segment.
So yeah, if you want to be featured on our podcast, just send us a little email.
Yeah.
Just a fun, hopefully uplifting. So it doesn't have to be uplifting. It can be really sad too.
It could be
but we'd
really
rather-
just really traumatic and awful. And,
Super depressing.
and we'll do our
Sure.
best to dramatically read it.
I watched The Lord of the Rings, and then I lost my leg in the war.
But I was
That
so
would be-
captivated by the movie, I kept watching
yeah,
as
yeah,
I bled
that's
out on the
it.
floor.
That's a perfect example
Yeah.
of the kind of messages we want to receive.
yes.
So, yeah, we want to engage with you all more. So please,
I'd like
you
to be
know-
engaged with all of you. We're getting
Yes.
married.
Oh, geez. Yeah, so shoot us an email, shoot us a message, and that'll be awesome. Sweet. Anything else, guys?
I got nothing.
Cool.
I have nothing.
Right. Well, thanks so much for listening. We hope that you enjoyed this episode of What If and our little breakdown of it. This is Inside the Tauntaun, a podcast in the multiverse of fandom. I'm Alyssa Simmons.
And I'm Daniel Dawson.
And I'm Dino Nicandros.
May the Force be with you.
Always.
Inside the Tauntaun podcast. Please like and subscribe.